we do make strong customer authentication on each authorization of a transaction. We use real-time fraud prevention systems for card transactions and payments transactions. We try to integrate them to be online and to lower the how many so to lower the I don't know if it's okay to lower the security on some kind of transaction. So my answer should be yes for me.
I think it's about the risk assessment I mentioned earlier. Yeah, okay, what type of transaction do we have? And that real-time fraud prevention can be the geolocation. Yeah, and that is the very simple example. And based on that, we can define if we want to add strong customer authentication or not. So there are multiple design cases which can be applied. I don't think that it's a yes or no. Here, it depends on the customer profile, it depends on the type of transaction, it depends on the risk assessment and all the other controls which are around. So my opinion is no, we have to judge based on the specifics of the system. Yeah.
For me, the answer is no. My perspective is to prevent anything, but the problem is the quality of implementation. So I can give you an example. Yesterday I received a phone call from a friend, told me that a Romanian bank asked him after he received 1,000 lei in account, someone from the bank called by phone and asked if this money are real and if maybe can be a fraud there. So this is an example of implementing such a system prevention. I understood that this bank in Romania had some problem regarding this aspect, and for that they try to cover anything, but it is an excess applying some methods. So the answer is no, it's mandatory, but we have to take care what we want to do. And this is very important for all our software and APIs. Okay.
What I can add is this is not anything new here, because some years ago I was customer of the bank, not in Romania now, and when I was withdrawing money from the airport, I was immediately called no matter the hour saying there's a transaction in a high risk area. Yeah, so. And that is only because they defined high risk area. So this type of controls can be applied based on your client profile. But I think it's the question is a little bit tricky, because real-time fraud transaction should be the basis, and after that we can see if we apply HTA, strong customer authentication. So actually first the real-time fraud transaction should come, and after that, based on that, we can decide if we have an exception or not. It's not vice versa. Here it's a little bit tricky on the question.
Recently we have started to discuss things like risk-based authentications, and then maybe in the near future there are some solutions already on the way, allowing authentication the users without even asking for passwords, pins, or biometrics, based on the information we gather about the user, about their usage on our fraud prevention or fraud detection systems, I may say. So, for example, if I am doing performing a regular money transfer on every first day of every month, and if I'm doing this in Bucharest, and then if I'm doing this with my registered phone, there is a possibility that there's a possibility that we shouldn't be required to authenticate the users for that particular routinely done transaction, because we can rely on the data collected by our fraud detection, fraud prevention systems to decide whether we need to do SCA or not. And again, another example from the latest Turkish regulation, for such routinely performed transactions, the latest draft version says that you don't need to do SCA for those type of transactions even. So I wouldn't say yes or no here, depending to the scenario, depending to the requirement. We can either, for example, for e-commerce type of transactions, we need to do SCA maybe. For, as I said, for routine transactions, we might not require for SCA. So it is a matter of scenario, matter of what type of transaction we are doing, trying to do at that particular moment. But as I said, the technology is evolving in the direction where we won't be required to provide any passwords or pins in the near future. So all that matters will be the fraud systems, which will decide intelligently whether we need to do that or not.
Mr. Bertea. Even PSD2 says that recurrent transaction to predefine directions like utilities and so on can be done without having strong customer authentication. So it's specifically mentioned as a possible exception.
I will give a short answer. I don't fully agree with the fact that we should have first the fraud prevention system and then SCA, because SCA is quite mandatory for identification and authorization, and then the transaction will take place or not. But this is just a matter of opinion. On the other hand, we have a clear statement in the directive that says, okay, it's mandatory to have a real-time fraud prevention system for those transactions that are exempted from SCA. Therefore, it is mandatory to have for the exemptions. Then, if you have used at least one exemption, then you must have the real-time fraud prevention system in place, which means there is no sane reason not to use it for all the transactions, not only for the. And then it comes to what my four speakers said. The way you implement it is vital. We have real-time fraud preventions in place. Each and every one of us uses his card in e-commerce transactions or on real physical points of sales. Most of the times, those transactions are already passing through a real-time fraud prevention system, whether we are aware of it or not. Maybe you have never encountered such a case, but most of the times it happens. But with PSD2, I believe it's pretty clear stated that what I've said earlier.
I want to add something, because we had an internal fight regarding the SCA, and real-time fraud prevention. It's very hard for a big bank to implement from the first time real-time fraud prevention mechanism integrated with all the transactions, cards and payments. So we decided we make SCA all the time, and we'll we are implementing the real-time monitoring, and we put the real-time monitoring and the addition factor to the SCA. And in the future, when we will be mature enough to master this technology, that all the geolocation that looks very fine, but when we are talking about 40, 60 transactions per second with very high load in your system, it's very hard to start with the real-time fraud prevention and to say it. So this is our approach.
Okay, I'm not a bank, but I'm a user. So it's I was traveling to high-risk countries in Africa, and my bank in Dubai, and they were calling me, you know, to confirm transactions, and that gave me peace of mind, to be totally honest. So it's a good thing to for a bank to have it, especially for people who travel, okay, or for transactions that are done outside the country by that principle. On the other hand, I'm also a user of a bank in Germany and their product is targeted to also to people who travel a lot. And I don't think they have real-time fraud prevention because I was using that card in all these countries. On the other hand, they have a very nice mobile interface where I can choose whether I can enable or disable transactions outside, transactions online. I can very quickly define limits for the transactions for the day, things like this. So I can actually reduce the risks on my own without the need for a real-time fraud prevention. On opinion.
Well, I would want to add just one fact, something very funny for me, but I believe the key success factor for a good real-time fraud prevention system is not when you are being called to confirm a transaction that you are actually using. It's when you are or not called to confirm or dismiss a transaction that you are not performing. So this would be the key success indicator.
Maybe today we are, this is a valid question for today. Maybe in 1 year or 2 years time frame, we will be asking the same question from the opposite direction. So there will be the fraud prevention system in place, which can apply risk-based authentication, and we will ask the question whether we should still apply SCA on top of the fraud prevention system we have.